Hey guys, plenty of questions we get from non-EU students in the Czech Republic are about employment in the Czech Republic, about working in the Czech Republic, earning money in general. So I wanted to do a video about that, and this is exactly the video. So I'll give you 4 most common questions we get, and hopefully we'll explain the whole situation to you. So when we finish the video, you will understand if you can work, how you can work, how much, what to do if you want to change the purpose of your stay to an employee card, for example, from a student visa. So everything regarding students and employment in the Czech Republic, hopefully it will be clear. So the 4 questions I will be going into details in are: can students work? Second, how many hours? Like, can you work full-time or just part-time, or what are the rules there? Third, what if I want to leave the school and just work full-time, switch to an employee card, blue card? How can you do that? What are the options? What are the processes? And fourth will be, what about students and business in the Czech Republic? If you don't want to be employed, or you cannot be employed, because I also explain who cannot be employed, but you still want to earn money, there are still some ways you can start your own business. So I will talk about that as well. So let's go right into that. Can a student work, or can students work in the Czech Republic? Yes and no, I would say. I would say it depends on the student, the type of student you are. Because if you are the proper student, meaning in most cases that you're a student of an accredited program of Czech universities, it's not 100% like that, but in most cases it will be like that. Then you can work, you can get employed, because of the studies, you have free access to the labor market, which means that there are no limitations in Czech companies hiring you. If you have the other purpose of stay, which in most cases means that you study an unaccredited program, that your program of the university you're studying is not accredited, which often can be, doesn't necessarily need to be like that, but often those are like private universities. Those courses might not be accredited. So in that case, you cannot get employed, or maybe at least not simply employed. Like you go to an interview and they can hire you tomorrow, as it works for the standard students or the proper students. You can still get employed, but you would need to switch to the employee card, which I will cover later. So easily put, if you're the proper student of an accredited program of Czech university, you can work. If you're not a student of an accredited course, you cannot work. Simply put like that. Second question, can I work full-time, or how many hours? There is this kind of a rumor or misinformation or whatever going around the internet and like word of mouth that students can only work 20 hours a week. It might be like that like 10, 12 years ago, probably. There might be a rule like that, but since then, not really, because this is governed by the Employment Act, I believe it's the Employment Act, and that says that if you are a full-time student, you can work. There is no limitation, or you have free access to the labor market. So there are no limitations in amount of hours or whatever, jobs or anything like that. So you can technically work full-time as long as you manage to study and pass all the exams and go to the next year, next academic year, all that. Because your purpose of stay in the Czech Republic is studies, so you should primarily focus on studying, not on being employed. Because it can also lead to the ministry questioning the reason for like the purpose of your stay. If you are a student, you have a student visa, student residence permit, but you don't really go to the school because you don't have to, you can study online or whatever, and instead of that you work full-time, 40 hours a week at some company, the ministry could question if your purpose of staying in the Czech Republic is really studies or if it's working. But in that case, they would probably not like deny the student visa or something or cancel it, but they would tell you to switch to an employee card. So you need to be careful with that, but technically you can work even full-time as a student. Third question. What if I want to leave the school and go work full-time? That's a bit complicated question because it has many layers and many different perspectives. So generally speaking, as a student, you don't have to leave the school. You can keep working, as I explained a minute ago. You can work even full-time as a student, as long as you manage to do both, study and work. So you don't really need to switch to anything. But if you want to switch to something, you can switch to an employee card or to a blue card. You submit the application at the Ministry of the Interior, and you can switch. It's a bit tricky and a bit complicated, so if you want to do that, I would recommend getting in touch with us, and we will help you with the process, because you need to be careful about when you finish the studies, when you apply for the employee card, if you extend your student residency meanwhile to have enough time. So there are many things to that, but technically you can switch to an employee card or to a blue card if you meet the requirements. I would not really recommend doing that though. That has two main reasons. First reason is that once you switch, or three reasons probably. Okay, one, getting a Czech diploma will grant you access to the Czech labor market forever, until you die or until the ministry changes the rules. But if you have a Czech diploma from a Czech university, accredited program, you can, or you have free access to the labor market for the duration of your life. So that's definitely worth it, because even if you leave for a couple of years and then you come to the Czech Republic, having finished a Czech university, having a Czech diploma, it will be way easier for you to find a job here and get a visa based on that, or get the employee card, blue card, whatever, because you will never need the vacancy number. The processes will be easy for you. So definitely finishing the school and getting a Czech diploma is something I would recommend, instead of finding a job and switching to a job. Second thing is, what I was thinking about. Yeah, so if you switch, first, like switching to an employee card, it's kind of complicated process. As I explained before, it can be done, but you need to be careful about many things, like when you finish the school, all that. So it can get you into a tricky situation. But another thing is that once you start working, once you get the employee card, you are tied to that employer. You have to stay with the first employer for 6 months, and then if you want to change employers, it's kind of a process. It's not that complicated, but you have to follow some procedures, and there are some limitations, and if you make a mistake, you can even get deported. So the employee card kind of ties you to one employer. So if you just started with the employer, you are not really sure, I would not really recommend it, because under the student residence permit or student visa, you can work full-time anyway, so you can see how it goes. You can work like that for a year or two and then switch. So that's the second thing, that it's a bit more flexible for you, because as a student, you can just leave the job today and find another job tomorrow, and then leave the job the day after that and find another job like 2 days after that. No limitation, because you have free access to the labor market. With the employee card, it's not that simple. So that's the second reason. Third reason is that if you come here as a student and immediately switch, immediately I mean like before you finish the studies, like a first year or first 2 years, whatever, to an employee card, you are making the admission process or the visa process for future students more complicated. Because this is, we regularly at Move to Prague, we regularly meet with the Ministry of the Interior. We go to like regular meetups with them, and we discuss the immigration law and stuff like that. And they tell us that this is actually a pretty common practice, that people get student visas because it's easy, and then they immediately switch to an employee card. And that's basically like a fraud, because you never intended to study here, or at least it looks like that. Of course, it can be like, it doesn't have to happen on purpose, so you might really get a good offer or whatever, but for the ministry, it looks the way that people are just misusing the student visas to easily get to the Czech Republic, and then they find a job, and the real reason why they want to move here is not the school, but the job. And then, because of that, they make the rules for students more complicated. So for future students, there will be more interviews, they will go more deeply, and the ministry will be denying even those people who like really want to study here, who don't have any plans to find a work or whatever, but they will make it complicated for everyone. So if you come here under the student visa, this is the third reason why you should keep studying and not switch into an employee card until you finish your studies. So, and then the fourth question is, one thing connected to that, if you finish your studies, or if you want to switch to the employee card. So as I explained, I would recommend you not to switch during your studies. Just finish the school, get the diploma, switch then. And how to do that is that if you're a proper student, meaning the accredited program of Czech universities, then you can apply before you're finishing. Once you've finished the school and you're waiting for your diploma, but before your student visa expires or student residence permit expires, you can get the job seeker residence permit. It allows you to stay in the Czech Republic for additional 9 months and look for a job. So this is the proper way of doing it. So you finish your studies, you get a job seeker residence permit for 9 months, and within that 9 months, you switch to an employee card. So this is how the ministry wants it, and this is also how I would recommend it based on all the information I gave you before. So that's one thing. You can also, so that's the recommended way of doing it. Yeah, that's basically it. Also, the job seeker residence permit can be used also, the residence permit can be also used to start your own business. And that gets us to the fourth question. If you want to start your own business as a student, if you don't want to work, be employed, but you want to start your own business, how to do that. I'll tell you in a second. I just want to check if the camera is recording because I don't see myself. And sometimes my Apple Watch just wants to update and it just stops the live stream. This is one weird thing about iPhones, like these little things. But anyway, so if you're a student and now, okay, if you want to start a business and you're a student in the Czech Republic, it doesn't matter if you're the proper student or if you're the other student. Either of you can get a trade license, become a freelancer, and can start working as a freelancer and can start earning money as a freelancer, as a self-employed person, trade license holder, živno holder, whatever. So there is no difference in students and the other purpose of stay. There is actually one difference, that for students it might be a bit more easy to get the trade license, because if you have, I'm not sure if it's the 23 or 24 code. I believe 23. So if you have the 23 code in your visa or residence permit, then you don't need to provide a criminal check from the country of your origin. So that's a big advantage in some countries, because sometimes it can be difficult or can take long to get it done. But for all the others, if you get a criminal check from the country of your origin, then you can get a trade license. And the trade license gives you more flexibility, or the same kind of flexibility as a job, because you can work in different fields of business, you can work for different companies, different companies can hire you for different purposes. So that's great. One important thing about this is that there is no limitation of how much business you can do as a student or how much money you can make, again, as long as you manage to go to school. The only difference there is that you cannot switch to a business purpose of stay unless you've been here for longer than 5 years, or unless you go through the job seeker residence permit. Because let's say if you're if you're the non-accredited course student, so the other purpose of stay, and you want to switch to the business purpose of stay, you cannot do it until you've reached 5 years in the Czech Republic. So you can have the trade license on top of your studies, on top of your student visa or the other visa or other residence permit. You can study and run the business, but you cannot switch to the business purpose of stay until you have reached 5 years. If you're a standard student or the proper student, then you can go through them. Again, I would recommend finishing your studies, getting the job seeker residence permit, and then from the job seeker, you can switch to a business residence permit even if you haven't been here for 5 years. That's the only exception, that if you're a student, then the job seeker residence permit, the 9 months residence permit, is there for you to either find a job and switch to the employee card or a blue card, or start your own business and switch to the business residence permit. So yeah, this is it. Guys, if you have any questions, comment, join the channel, or get in touch. I will share all the details in the description of the video, and hopefully this was helpful. See you next time, Monday, Thursday, until the end of the world. See you guys.